Tony D with a screenwriter's tips. Today we're going to talk about themes, and yeah, don't forget to tune in to Hollywoke Hot Take Live tomorrow at 7. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys books 1 through 16, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. Joan, are you in on this one? No, you're fine. She's on the floor behind me. She's comfortable. I don't want to disturb her. So I have no visual for this, as always. So this is my go-to visual. Um, so I'm working on. I just finished the draft to book 17 of the Pineys. I'm working on book 18, and I was thinking about the process, which I love to do, and I love to do the process, the creative process we're talking about. So I'm working on 18 because I'm in the very early stages. And when you're in the early stages of something, you're just sort of formulating it. You're just sort of thinking about it and trying to lay out some ideas, and you're kind of playing around with scenes that maybe or maybe not would fit in. One of the things I try to do is I try to think about themes. And this is something I took from improv. You know, in improv, you take a suggestion, right? And let's say the suggestion is, oh, I don't know, beach. So I'm just looking at one of the pictures in front of me. So beach is the suggestion. So the most obvious thing to do would be to do a scene on a beach, right? Because that's what you do in improv. You do scenes and whatnot. But then you think about beach and what it means. It also means the beaches are on a coast, typically. They're near the ocean. They're a border between the water and the land. And so you could think about things like that. And then when you start to think about it in more abstract ways, you get different sort of suggestions. So in the case of a beach, and that it's a border between the land and the sea, you might also think of a dam, right? Because a dam can also be the border between water and land. You can also think of the borders between countries and oceans. You could also think about the difference between land and sea, right? You could think about fishing, think about things that are done at the beach, more things that wash up on the beach, pirate treasure. I would always think of that, and things like that. And when you think about things more thematically, it gives you more options for your story. So I'm working on yet again another. I don't want to give it away, but I'm working on this story that has to do with some legend in South Jersey, and I don't have a lot of information on this one, so I need to expand upon it a bit. So I started to think about it in a more broad sense. And as I did, other suggestions came up, and now I have more to work with. So I'm coming up with different themes based on that and how those themes would apply to the characters I've already established, which is something also good to do for characters you've already established, right? So, for instance, and this isn't my story, but I'll give you an example. There's a writing exercise, and you could do this. I got this out of Writer's Digest, where you take a character and you've kind of outlined him, but then you outline what the character would eat for breakfast, right? So I can do that pretty easily with all the characters in the Pineys. I've done it with Hemingway already. There was a story in which Hemingway wakes up Lewis, and he's eating a pint of blueberries, and he says something like, you know, I get up, I eat my pint of blueberries, and I'm on the go. So that would be a typical breakfast for Hemingway, as well as that he likes to make a big family breakfast, and he's had pork roll and scrapple and various, more elaborate things. with the rest of his family. Lewis, not much of a breakfast guy, obviously. He's more of a drinker, more of a guy who gets up late. When he has breakfast, he'll have what everybody else is having. He's not really big on it. Milton is a character. He's more into fitness. He's a martial arts guy, but he's also a fitness guy. So he might have something a little more healthy, maybe egg whites and some kind of granola deal. But generally, he'll eat with the family. And Shelley's more like Hemingway. She'll have typically the family meal and, whatever Hemingway's cooking. Or, she could cook something herself. And now that she and Monty have a kid, in case you haven't been keeping up on the Pineys, she mentions in an upcoming story what they have for breakfast. And it's very sort of, I'll say, middle class South Jersey sort of breakfast, I'll say. Typical American sort of we're a busy young couple, and we just eat whatever. So that gives you more dimensions to the characters, right? And I could go further with some of the side characters in the Pineys. I could literally list everyone and what they would have for breakfast. But it gives you something to work with, because that breakfast may signify something. In the case of Hemingway, all his sort of breakfasts are kind of a tie into South Jersey. Blueberries, pork roll, scrapple, things like that. Whereas some of the other characters, not so much. So that tells me that Hemingway's entire theme is South Jersey. Milton's entire theme is more physical fitness. Lewis's entire theme is usually the wrong decision, and Shelley's is just sort of average Joe schmo kind of theme, or Hemingway light in a respect. And you can extrapolate more from those characters by filling in that kind of detail. You could take it further. With Hemingway's blueberries, I mentioned in that scene, he's got a blueberry guy, right? And we've seen in the Pineys, the Blueberry Millionaires in book 11, so it kind of ties in to that. Not specifically, but Hemingway did say he had a blueberry guy. And the Blueberry Millionaires in Hamilton in book 11 are blueberry guys. So it's something you can continue to expand upon. And with the Blueberry Millionaires, I outlined a whole sort of deal for them in book 11, which I can always bring back. I think I brought it back once already. I think in book 13. But, at any time I could bring back the Blueberry Millionaires to do something for the Pineys or against the Pineys, as the case may be. But this is the kind of thing you do as a world building exercise, and it can help build your story up too, because you might have a basic plot in mind, but then the theme may give you opportunities to make statements at a broader sense, about something. So, for instance, with the example of the blueberries, I might be able to make a broader statement in farming in South Jersey. It's sort of I won't say it's a lost art, but we've got a lot of housing developments and condo developments and warehouses going up in South Jersey, and they're eating away at the farms, which is upsetting to me. And therefore it's upsetting to Hemingway. And I made some references to that in book 13. I'll probably make more again. It's something that's a concern here. So, and it may be a concern only right now to me in this particular time, in this particular era, but people looking back over the story, say 50 years from now, might point at some reference in the book and say, oh yeah, he was making reference to an issue topical at that time. Maybe it won't be topical in the future. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? But this is why you need to play with themes and think about your story more broadly, as well as thinking about the details. And that broader thinking also gives you opportunity to add more details in the specific thematic areas. Now, you don't want to get too distracted by the theme. It is possible to do that. You get so distracted by the theme, you kind of forget the plot. Remember, the plot is going to be key. It's got to be pretty, I don't want to say tunnel vision, but pretty pointed to get from point A to B. But as long as those thematic choices also tie into that, I think you're generally good. You're not too distracted from your story. So, to give you an example, if we're talking about the blueberry millionaires and the blueberries and again, going back to breakfast, the Pineys hunt hellspawn in the Pine Barrens of South Jersey. So, how do you tie, say, the blueberries and the blueberry millionaires into that? The blueberry millionaires have money. They assist the Pineys in their fight, generally speaking. Or you could just I could set one of the fights in a blueberry field, let's say, and then they kill one of the hellspawn, and then the millionaires are very grateful, and that detail again is unique to the Pineys world, and won't necessarily detract from whatever current plot I'm working on. It's just sort of checking in with the world as it is. It's interesting too, now that I'm up to book 17, and 17 had a lot of callbacks from some of the previous books. It is interesting to see all the I hesitate to call it, but this is the only word that works, baggage from the earlier books is now sort of coming home to roost. But the payoffs to me are very satisfying in that respect. You don't want to get too caught up in the payoffs. That was one thing I worried about in this particular book that I just finished, is that the payoffs from the various details and the various jokes I sort of brought back might detract from the actual story I was trying to tell. So these are all factors. You always want to be focused on the story and make sure the story comes to a satisfying ending. The other details, that's just icing on the cake. I mean, all my payoffs are kind of icing on the cake for this story. So you want to make sure people can read, and I always do this for the Pineys. I want to make sure people can read the current book of the Pineys and not feel like they needed to read, the 16 previous books to understand what the hell's going on. But I do want those tidbits in there so people read them and go, oh, what's that? Oh, that must have been something from the previous book, perhaps. Let me go back and read them. So you want them in there. You want those extra details in there to maybe entice people, but not so much that they're crucial to understand what the hell is going on. Anywho, so that was my theme today. Themes. So think about them when you're writing stuff. But again, don't get too caught up in them. And that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan, somewhere on the floor behind me. Thanks for tuning in. Again, tomorrow is the live stream, Hollywoke Hot Take Live at 7 p.m. every Sunday. Monday, I'm going to be doing the Hamilton Center event at 7 p.m. I believe this is a senior center in Hamilton, New Jersey. So I may see a lot of the faces I saw at the Hamilton Historical Society. So that'll be nice. I've got more books, guys. So hope to see you there. We'll see you tomorrow.